I want to thank HeartShare for asking me to come by to speak on behalf of my son Stevie. Stevie is a student at HeartShare. He's been a student at HeartShare. This is his second year. And what can I say about HeartShare? They're wonderful. They're wonderful. I am so grateful. My husband is so grateful for them. Stevie was diagnosed with autism at 18 months. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't aware really what autism was before he was diagnosed. I have one friend that I went to college with that has a son that's on the spectrum, and I heard bits and pieces about autism through her, but because it didn't hit me and it wasn't close to home, I didn't feel the need to really educate myself on it until my Stevie. Stevie had problems with pointing, and he had problems with speaking. He didn't have a voice. And my husband, who has two older children, said, there's something wrong with Stevie. And I would tell him all the time, you know what, don't judge him by other kids. Stevie has his own time frame. He will develop when it's his turn. Because I always heard that every kid is different, right? And I took him to his 18th month physical, and the doctor, the pediatrician, gave me a long checklist of things that he should have been able to do according to his timeline. And I'm checking no to everything. Everything. He couldn't point. He couldn't speak. He couldn't mimic. He couldn't shadow. He couldn't give eye contact. And I'm freaking out in the waiting room. He was having his 18-month physical, and I'm freaking out in the waiting room because I'm looking at this checklist and I'm checking no to every single thing. And I'm like, something's wrong with Stevie. Steven was right. And I spoke to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician looking over Stevie's checklist, and he said we should have him evaluated. Now I'm really freaking out. My husband's not there with me, it's just me and the baby. And what do you mean we have to have him evaluated? Well, we should just get him tested. Let's just do it early. Okay. So we had him evaluated. And they said that he was developmentally delayed. I never heard that term in my life. What did that mean? So now I go into Google, and I start doing what every mom does, and she just immerses herself and starts educating herself. Okay. And they had a coordinator call me from an affiliation, and they said, let's get him into early intervention. Okay, then let's do it. I am the type of person that when something's wrong, I roll up my sleeves, I dive in head first. What do we got to do? What's the next step? Where do we go from here? How do we fix this? Stevie didn't ask to be here. I am his voice. His dad is his voice. So you know what? It's up to us to get him the help. We got him into early intervention, and we started seeing how it helped him. And it helped him big time. So I am a firm believer on early intervention. It works. It is there to work in place of our kids. And then we had to find him a preschool. HeartShare was the very first school that we interviewed, and after interviewing with them, we didn't feel the need to find any other school. We knew that that's where Stevie needed to be. We were confident about it. We went from classroom to classroom to classroom, and we visited the teachers, and they were friendly, and they were on board, and we explained to them our concerns. And we spoke to Ivan, his guidance counselor, and we explained to him our concerns and what we wanted out of life for Stevie. So how do we prepare Stevie? This is going to be preschool. How do we prepare him for kindergarten, and then first grade, and then the next step? This is what we want from him. How can you guys help us? And you know what? They did. They did what I do. They rolled up their sleeves, they dived in head first, and they made it happen. Stevie gets occupational therapy twice a week. He gets speech 3 times a week. And I'm telling you, from a little boy who used to point like this because he didn't even know how to point, he points, he verbalizes. Stevie is echolalic. And for those who don't know what that is, it's just a form of speech. Stevie repeats and repeats and repeats. And that's just him trying to process what you're asking of him. Stevie, how was your day at school? Day at school. What did you do today? Do today. What did you do in school today, Stevie? What did you do today in school today, Stevie? That's how Stevie communicates. That's how Stevie used to communicate. You know why? Because he has dedicated teachers who fight for him. And you know why? Because he has a mom that doesn't look at HeartShare as a daycare where she just drops off her kid for the day and then she goes and she does her job. No, I am a realtor. So I say that to say that my schedule is pretty flexible, and I work the hours I choose to work. So you know what? I had to step back from my career because my son needs help. My husband's a police officer. He's on call all day. He couldn't do it. He does what he can, but he trusts me to do the rest, and I do the rest. I speak to Stevie's teachers, okay? They're not here for the glory. They're not here for the recognition. They're not here for the honor. They're here because it takes a special heart to teach students, much less an even bigger heart to teach a child with special needs. They do it, and they do it great. And I owe so much to them. We owe so much to them. Stevie last year was in a 10-1-2 class, 10 teachers, 1 student, 1 para. And he had an excellent teacher. He looked forward to seeing her every day. He depended on her. He relied on her. She was great with him. Once I saw her face in the morning, I knew Stevie was good until I picked him up. I just knew it. I was able to go to work with that peace that a parent needs to have, knowing that he was in the great hands. And then, last March, I was told that in the middle of the night, she sent in an email saying today was my last day. Just like that. No warning, no nothing. And this was a teacher that I got to know and I got to grow close to, and I had her cell phone number and she had my cell phone number, and we were able to text each other on Stevie, what are you working on with him today? How do I mirror that at home? What do I need to do? How can I help? Well, what did you teach him today? How can I do that at home? What resources do I need to get? What do I need to look up on the internet? And she told me, and she educated me, and we worked well together. So to find out that she left in the middle of the night without a warning, how do I explain that to Stevie? Stevie doesn't like change. Stevie doesn't like transition. No kid does, much less a kid who depends on this person. And I had to drive Stevie to school, and I had to let him know that she's not gonna be there. Because if he didn't see her face in the morning waiting to bring him into class, it was hell. God forbid she had a cold and she had to stay home. It was hell. And I was very angry for a long time. I came home, I gave my husband an earful. Like, if he doesn't deal with enough on the job, he had to hear from me. And that's not an easy task. You'd rather be a cop than hear from me. Believe me. You'd rather be a cop than hear from me. And he came home and I gave him an earful and I let him know. But at the end of the day, after the dust settled, I realized why she did what she did. I didn't like the manner in how she did it. I feel like there was a better way of doing it. I'm a professional, and I feel like the way she handled it was unprofessional. But at the end of the day, she's a mom too. And if she got lured by a better job opportunity, she had to do what was best for her kids the way I have to do what's best for my Stevie. But guess what? At the end of the day also, it's my Stevie that suffered for those 2 to 3 months that he didn't have a teacher. He had the parent in the classroom, she was certified and everything, but it wasn't a teacher. And I saw Stevie regress, and that was my biggest fear. I saw him starting to whine. I saw him starting to lose focus. I saw him starting to have more tantrums. And this was all just a symptom of him not having a regular teacher in the classroom. I saw it. So when the school asked me last year to come with them to speak to Senator Adabo and Assemblywoman Pfeiffer, yeah, I'm on board. I'm on board because my Stevie's my priority. 4410 schools, we need these schools. You hear from the parents who have the kids that are older. And you know what? I'm not even ready for the fight. The parent, Nancy said, I'm tired of fighting. I get it. And I only have a 4-year-old. She's way past my spectrum. But she's preparing me for the fight that now I have to have on behalf of my Stevie. I'm tired of fighting for Stevie. But I haven't even yet begun to fight. But guess what? At the end of the day, I'm a mom. That's what moms do. We didn't ask for this position, but guess what? We got it. I didn't ask to have a special needs child. My special needs child didn't ask to have me as a mom, but he got me and he's got a voice because I'm his voice. And I have to do what's best for Stevie. So we need these teachers. I say that to say that we need these teachers. 2 months after this teacher left, we got an excellent teacher. Oh my God, thank God for her. I prayed for that moment. I literally did. I said, we gotta find somebody. I used to tell Debbie from HeartShare all the time, we gotta get somebody in. She goes, well, if you know anybody, and I called everybody from this early intervention program, and I put the word out there, and I went on social media. I'm Stevie's voice. We need a teacher. We need a teacher. I shouldn't have had to do that. You know why I shouldn't have had to do that? Because that teacher should have been in the position where she could have stayed in that program. And she could have stayed teaching my son. And she couldn't do it because the money wasn't there. And that's a sad fact. That's a sad fact. And we found him a good teacher. Well, not we. The school found him an excellent teacher. And I thank God for her. I really do. She brought Stevie in those last 2 months that he was in that program. She brought him back to where he needed to be, and he excelled beyond his goals. And I looked forward to getting her progress reports because I saw what a good teacher would do to help my son, to help your kids, to help your kids. Your kids are our kids. Our kids are your kids. We're all in the same boat here. Ain't nobody better than anybody else. If your kid can tie a shoe and my kid can't, doesn't make your kid better than mine. My kid just needs a little bit more help. If your child can form a sentence and tell you how his or her day went, they're still no better than my child. My child just needs a little bit more help. But in order for my child to get that little bit more help, my child needs his teachers. And now this is Stevie's last year at HeartShare. And I fear for what happens to the parents that I have grown close to whose kids are still gonna be there after Stevie leaves. I fear for them, I really do. I've gotten to know these parents. These parents are my friends. These parents are my support groups. These parents fight for their kids the way I fight for my Stevie. And now Stevie's gonna go to community school, and they're not prepared for me either. They're not. You know why? Because I just had my turning 5 meeting, and Stevie doesn't have behavioral issues, and he doesn't have health issues, but I know my Stevie needs a para. And they told me right off the bat, we're not giving him a para. Why not? He doesn't need it. Don't tell me what my son needs. Nobody knows my Stevie more than I know my Stevie. My Stevie needs a para. I'm not saying forever. I'm saying to transition him, to make sure that the transition goes smoothly so that what happened last year doesn't happen this year now that he's going into kindergarten and he doesn't regress. And they told me no. And that's the wrong thing to tell me. And you know what? I came home and I told my husband,
My life.
I'm not happy. I don't feel like I fought hard enough. I feel like I took the first no and I took it and I stood quiet. And that's not me. I don't stay quiet. And I went back and I educated myself. And I spoke to people, parents who have gotten paras for their kids. They said, no, you fight for what your kid needs. Nobody knows your kid better than you. And I fought back and I spoke to the principal and she stood behind the psychologist. Well, they don't feel like Stevie needs a para. Oh, really? Okay. And I went back to the psychologist and I said, you know what? I wasn't happy. I went over the notes from our meeting and I wasn't happy. Stevie needs a para. We need to talk about this. So what are we gonna do here? How are we gonna come to some kind of meeting of the minds? And he said, come in tomorrow. And we came in tomorrow. And I stood in his office for 90 minutes, but I didn't leave his office until he told me Stevie gets a para.
You got a para.
And I appreciate the support from everyone in this room. But me, like those teachers, I'm not doing this for the glory. I'm not doing this for the honor. I'm not doing this for the fame. I don't need that. I need my Stevie to be okay. I'm not gonna be here forever. And I know I have a fight ahead of me. Listening to Nancy, I know I have a fight ahead of me. But I want my Stevie to be able to stand up here one day, like the way Thomas did, and speak eloquently and advocate for himself. And the only way he's gonna do that is if me and Daddy teach him how to do it, because we're his voice. So I have to be the voice for the teachers because they asked me as a parent to speak on what I know. They said, tell your story. This is my story. These 4410 schools need teachers. And they need teachers that are gonna get paid more than what you can get from working at McDonald's on an after-school shift. That's not fair. They come in early, they stay late, they develop a relationship with the parents, they get special certification to teach these kids. And you're gonna tell me that all their worth is a minimum wage job? Unacceptable. Unacceptable. And shame on you if you just sit back and let that happen. Shame on you. It's not fair. So I hope that I didn't take up too much of your time, but I'm just telling my story. And I look forward to anyone that can continue to educate me on how to help my Stevie. And I'm here to help anyone in any way that I can, because that's just me giving back. Thank you for your time.